Space was silent. Not the kind of silence you feel when you hold your breath, but the deep, endless silence that has no beginning and no end. On the far edge of human territory, a small station floated between the stars. Its name was Echo 9, a lonely listening post built to watch the edge of known space. Inside, a handful of people worked night and day, listening to static, waiting for something that never came. For years, they heard nothing but the hum of machines. Until one night, everything changed. Officer Lena Ward sat alone in the dark control room. Her eyes were tired, half-closed, staring at the same glowing screens she had watched for months. She sipped cold coffee, ready to end her shift, when something unusual flashed across her radar, a faint signal, weak, repeating. At first, she thought it was just another background noise, a reflection from some rock or satellite. But as she looked closer, she noticed something strange. The signal wasn't random. It was too perfect, 4 pulses. A pause, 4 more. The same pattern every 8 seconds, almost like a heartbeat. "Commander, you might want to see this," she said over the comm. Commander Holt appeared beside her a few minutes later, his face calm but curious. "Another false alarm, Ward?" "I don't think so," she replied, zooming in on the screen. "This signal's been repeating for 12 minutes. It's coming from beyond the outer ring. Near Jupiter's orbit." Holt leaned closer. "Source? Unknown. Could be a debris field, could be something else." They both stared at the glowing blip on the screen. The rest of the station was quiet, the kind of quiet that makes you notice your own heartbeat. "Run a deep scan," Holt ordered. Lena's fingers moved across the controls. The radar image cleared, and then froze. The computer's voice spoke in its flat tone. "Massive object detected. Approximate length 3.2 kilometers. Speed 0 relative motion." Lena blinked. That can't be right. But the data didn't lie. Something that big was just sitting there, not moving, not drifting, like it was waiting. Holt frowned. "Could it be a derelict?" "Maybe, but it's cold. No power signature, no transmissions, nothing." He turned to her. "Mark it and send the report to Fleet Command. Let them deal with it." Lena nodded, but she couldn't take her eyes off the screen. The blip was still there, bright and silent, like an eye staring back at her. Hours passed. The station continued its routine. But the signal didn't stop. If anything, it grew stronger, clearer, like it was getting closer. At 0300 hours, alarms started to flash. The radar went wild. The system screamed, "Incoming object." The crew rushed to their stations. Lena's hands shook as she tried to stabilize the image. "It's moving," she shouted. "It's heading toward us." "Velocity?" Holt barked. "Almost 10,000 meters per second. Impact course? No, it's passing us. It's not targeting Echo 9. They watched as the massive shadow glided past their outpost, blocking out the stars one by one. No engines, no light, just darkness swallowing everything behind it. Everyone in the room went silent. "Magnify visual feed," Holt whispered. The external cameras zoomed in. At first there was nothing but black. Then slowly the surface of the object appeared. It was smooth, metallic, and covered with strange symbols that glowed faintly like veins of fire. "That's not human design," Lena murmured. The commander didn't answer. He just stared. The object moved silently across their view and then drifted away back into the endless dark. Within minutes it was gone. The crew didn't speak for several moments. Only the sound of the air systems filled the room. Then Lena said softly, "What do we tell command?" Holt took a deep breath. "We tell them what we saw. One alien ship, big as a city. No signs of life, no communication." He paused, then added, "And we hope it keeps going." But as the ship disappeared beyond their scanners, something else happened. The stars behind it began to fade. One by one, tiny lights vanished, as if someone was erasing them from the sky. "Is that interference?" Lena asked, tapping the controls. "No," Holt said quietly. His voice was almost a whisper. "That's something else." The computer beeped again. New signals. Dozens of them, hundreds, multiple contacts, Lena cried. "They're everywhere!" The screens filled with dots, one after another, forming a pattern around the path of the first ship. The system's voice echoed through the room. "Unknown fleet detected. Estimating 200 vessels." Lena felt her mouth go dry. "They thought it was just one ship," she whispered. Holt stared at the endless swarm of signals now moving across the radar. His expression turned cold. "They were wrong," he said. Outside the station, the blackness of space rippled, and the stars continued to vanish. The message from Echo 9 reached Earth within hours. It carried no emotion, only data, but the words inside made every commander in the Earth Defense Fleet stop and stare. They thought it was one ship. They were wrong. 200 unknown vessels, silent, no signal, no origin, no explanation. For a century, humanity had ruled this part of space. They had fought wars, built colonies, and faced pirates and rogue AIs, but never something like this. Fleet Command acted fast. From the orbital base Titan Prime, they launched the cruiser Vigilant, under the command of Captain Nathan Hayes, a man known for staying calm even when the universe caught fire. The Vigilant cut through the darkness, its hull shining faintly under the glow of Jupiter. Inside, the crew moved quickly and quietly, following Hayes' steady voice. "Navigation, keep us 10,000 kilometers from the object's last known coordinates," he ordered. "Science, full-spectrum scan. I want everything from gravity waves to quantum interference." The crew responded with quick "Yes, sir," and "Copy that," but the tension was thick. Even the hum of the engines felt too loud. As they approached, the sensors picked up the first signal, the same repeating pulse from Echo 9. 4 beats. Pause. 4 more. Lieutenant Arya Chen, the science officer, frowned. "It's identical, Captain. Frequency hasn't changed. It's like... It wants us to notice it." Hayes didn't answer. He stared at the display, a single bright mark floating in the dark. "Bring us in slow. No weapons lock. No transmissions." They moved closer. The main screen flickered, showing the outline of something enormous, the alien ship. It looked dead. No lights, no heat, no movement. But its surface shimmered like liquid metal, shifting slightly as if breathing. "It's 3 kilometers long," Arya said softly. "No known structure matches this shape. It's not a ship. It's almost organic." "Organic?" Hayes repeated. "Yes, sir. The surface reads like skin." No one spoke for a long moment. The only sound was the soft click of the instruments. "Launch a drone," Hayes ordered finally. The small probe shot out from the cruiser and moved toward the alien craft, its tiny engines glowing blue. The camera feed showed a dark, rippling surface. Symbols glowed faintly across it, pulsing in rhythm with the strange signal. "Are those markings?" Harrier whispered. "Not markings," said the engineer Corbin. "They look like circuits." "Or veins." The feed flickered. Static filled the screen. Then, for just a second, the image returned, and everyone froze. The camera showed movement. Something under the alien hull shifted, like muscles flexing beneath skin. Then the feed cut off completely. "Drone connection lost," Arya said. "It's just gone." "Gone?" Hayes turned. No signal, no wreckage, just nothing. Hayes' jaw tightened. "Pull us back to minimum safe distance." The Vigilant reversed slowly, its thrusters firing in short bursts. Then the ship's radar exploded with noise. "Captain," yelled Corbin, "we've got new contacts. All around us." Dots appeared everywhere on the display. Hundreds, then thousands. "Confirm," Hayes demanded. Arya's voice trembled. They were hiding behind the main ship. They were cloaked somehow. A whole formation. The computer's calm voice reported, 197 vessels detected. All unknown origin. The crew stared at the screen. The alien fleet surrounded them in a perfect sphere, motionless. Hayes whispered, "They're not moving." "They're watching." Minutes passed. No attack, no signal. Just silence. "Try hailing them," Hayes said finally. Arya opened the comms. "Unknown vessels. This is Captain Nathan Hayes of the human ship Vigilant. We come in peace. Identify yourselves." "Static," she repeated. Again silence. "Nothing," she said quietly. Hayes folded his arms. "They don't talk." Suddenly, one of the alien ships moved. It drifted forward slowly, stopping just a few kilometers away. Its hull glowed faintly blue, like something waking up after a long sleep. Then a deep vibration passed through the Vigilant. Every screen flickered. Lights dimmed. "What was that?" Corbin shouted. "Energy surge," Arya yelled. "It's scanning us." The hum grew louder until the crew could feel it in their bones. Then silence again. "All systems stable," Arya said. "No damage," Hayes nodded slowly. They're testing us. Then, without warning, the stars around them began to twist. The main alien ship's surface split open, revealing hundreds of glowing orbs. Each one detached and drifted away like seeds in the wind. They're deploying. Something, Corbin said. Are those drones? Arya asked. No idea, Hayes replied. Record everything. As the orbs spread, they formed strange patterns, geometric shapes that moved together like a living machine. Arya whispered, It's like they're drawing something in space. Hayes stared, eyes narrow. Or building something. The patterns brightened, then suddenly everything went dark. The vigilance power died, alarms flashed. Lights out! Gravity gone. The ship drifted, helpless. Backup power now. Hayes shouted, Nothing. Outside, faint blue lights glowed. Hundreds of alien ships moving together, perfectly synchronized. Then, as quickly as it began, the vigilance systems came back online. Engines hummed. Lights returned, but now the main screen showed something new, something massive far behind the alien fleet, a shape emerging from the void. Huge. Silent. Hayes whispered, That's not the same ship. Arya looked at him, eyes wide. Then what is it? He stared into the growing shadow. I don't know, he said quietly. But I think this was never about first contact. The shadow grew larger, and the stars behind it disappeared completely. They thought it was just one ship, Hayes murmured. But we're not looking at ships anymore. The alien fleet surrounded the Vigilant like a storm frozen in time. Hundreds of silent ships floated in the dark, perfectly still, perfectly quiet. No signals, no lights, no sound. Captain Nathan Hayes stood on the command deck, his eyes fixed on the main screen. The larger shape behind the fleet, the one that had just appeared, was slowly getting closer. It was huge, dwarfing everything else. Range? Hayes asked. Still unknown, replied Arya Chen, her voice tight. Sensors can't get a reading. It's like it's bending light around itself. Keep trying, Hayes said. His voice stayed calm, but inside his heartbeat was loud. For a long moment, nothing happened. The alien ships remained still, forming a perfect sphere around the Vigilant. Then one of them blinked, a single pulse of blue light, and the rest followed one after another in perfect sequence. They're communicating, Arya whispered. Can you translate? She shook her head. It's not language. It's timing, some kind of code. Before anyone could say more, the ship's alarms exploded. Alert, massive energy spike detected. Where? Hayes barked. Everywhere, shouted Corbin, the engineer. They're charging something. I think it's a weapon. Raise shields, Hayes ordered. The Vigilance defense field came alive, glowing faintly across its hull. A heartbeat later, a wave of white energy exploded from the alien fleet. It wasn't a beam or missile. It was a silent pulse, invisible but powerful. The ship shook violently. Lights flickered. Report. Hayes demanded. Systems are down, engines offline, weapons offline, everything. Corbin shouted. They hit us with an EMP burst. Hayes looked at the dead screens. Manual controls. Get them online now. The crew moved fast, switching to backup systems. The bridge filled with the sound of frantic tapping and warning tones. Arya stared at her dark monitor. Captain, all AI systems are locked. It's not just us. Every human ship in the area is offline. Hayes froze. You mean? Yes, she said. The whole fleet. Out there in the darkness, hundreds of human ships, the pride of the Earth Defense Fleet, floated dead and silent. Their engines cold, their weapons useless. The alien vessels drifted between them, slow and graceful, like predators circling prey. But they didn't attack. They just watched. Why aren't they finishing us? Corbin whispered. Hayes didn't answer. His eyes narrowed as he thought. Because they don't need to. They already won. He looked down at the manual control panel, old metal switches and buttons that hadn't been touched in decades. Humanity had stopped using manual flight after AI guidance took over. But now it was all they had. Corbin, he said, can you bypass the AI lockouts? Corbin blinked. Maybe. If I rip out half the system, do it. But Captain, that'll mean do it. Corbin nodded and ran out of the bridge. Hayes turned to Arya. How many ships still have human override systems? She scanned quickly. Less than 10%, sir. Most of our fleet relies on AI. Send a coded message, shortwave only. No digital signature. Tell them to go manual. Repeat it every 30 seconds. Aye, Captain. Minutes later, Corbin returned, covered in grease, holding a bundle of disconnected wires. AI core is offline, he said. We're back to manual control. Hayes sat in the pilot's chair, something he hadn't done since his training days. His hands rested on the cold metal of the flight stick. Let's see if we can still fly. The engines roared weakly to life. The Vigilant trembled, then slowly began to move. Captain, it's working, Arya said, her voice full of relief. Hayes smiled slightly. Good. Let's show them we're not done yet. The Vigilant fired its thrusters, weaving between the silent alien ships. The enemy didn't react. They just turned slowly to watch. Then, without warning, one alien ship moved closer, its hull glowing bright blue. They're targeting us, Arya yelled. Evasive, Hayes shouted, pulling the controls. The cruiser rolled hard to the side. Just as a beam of pure white energy cut through space where they had been a moment ago. Return fire. Manual targeting systems came online. Old missiles, not AI-guided but simple and deadly. Firing. The missile streaked through the void and hit the alien ship dead on. For a second, nothing happened. Then the ship exploded in a blinding flash of light. The bridge crew cheered. One down, Corbin grinned. Hayes didn't smile. He watched as dozens of other alien ships turned toward them at once. They noticed. All across the battlefield, other human ships began to flicker to life, one by one, their engines burning bright as crews fought to regain control manually. It wasn't organized. It wasn't clean, but it was human. Old ships, damaged ships, even cargo haulers joined the fight. They launched flares, missiles, anything that still worked. Manual fleets engaging, Arya reported. We're not alone anymore. Hayes nodded. Good. Let's make them hear us. The battle that followed was chaos. Bright streaks of light, explosions tearing across the dark, debris spinning like dying stars. No comms, no coordination, no mercy. Just survival. For the first time in centuries, humanity fought without machines, only instinct, courage, and hands on cold metal. And it worked. One by one, alien ships fell. Their perfect formation broke, but the victory was short, because from the shadows behind the alien fleet, the massive object began to move again. It wasn't a ship. It was something else. The stars bent around it like space itself was afraid. Hayes stared at the screen, his voice quiet and heavy. Whatever that is. This battle was just its opening act. The crew looked at him, speechless. Outside, the lights of the alien wreckage faded, and the shadow grew larger, swallowing the last traces of the fight. Humanity had survived the battle of silence. But the real war had just begun. Space was burning. Broken ships drifted among the stars, metal bodies torn open, their lights gone cold. Human and alien wrecks floated side by side, silent witnesses to the chaos that had ended only hours ago. Captain Nathan Hayes stood at the front window of the Vigilant, watching the remains of the battle. His eyes were tired, his uniform scorched, but his mind was sharp. The first real battle between humans and the unknown was over. And somehow, humanity had survived, but he knew it wasn't finished. Not even close. Status report, Hayes said quietly. Lieutenant Arya Chen looked up from her console. We've reconnected with 6 human ships, Captain. That's all that's left of the main fleet. 6. Hayes repeated softly. Arya nodded. The rest are gone. No signals, no debris, just gone. Hayes didn't reply. He kept looking at the darkness where the massive shadow had been. It was still there, far away, motionless, but he could feel it watching. On the outer colonies, messages from the battle spread like wildfire. For the first time in generations, humans realized something terrifying. They were not alone and they were not ready. Old stations that hadn't been active in years were turned on again. Factories on Mars and Luna began working non-stop, building new weapons, new ships, but this time, they didn't rely only on AI. Humans started training again the old way. Manual flight, manual targeting, human instinct. The age of easy wars was over. Back on the Vigilant, Arya broke the silence. Captain scans showed debris from the alien ship still sending weak signals. Energy pulses, repeating every few seconds. Survivors, Hayes asked. Unknown. Could be automatic distress calls. Toy traps. Hayes thought for a moment. Send a drone. Keep us at distance. The drone moved slowly through the wreckage. Its camera showed twisted alien metal, glowing faintly in the dark. Then something unexpected. "Captain, look at this," Arya said, zooming in. A piece of alien hull was pulsing, almost like a heartbeat. Tiny lights moved across it in strange patterns. "It's repairing itself," she whispered. Before anyone could react, the drone feed went black. Corbin slammed his fist on the console. "They're still alive in there." Hayes stayed calm. "No, not alive. Just not dead yet." The ship trembled suddenly. "Energy spike," Arya shouted. "It's coming from the large structure." The massive shadow in the distance began to move, slowly, like something waking up from a long sleep. Hayes stared. "It's not a ship. It's something else entirely." Then space itself twisted. Light bent. Stars stretched into long lines. "Sir, gravitational distortion detected," Arya cried. "It's creating a—" She didn't finish, because outside the window reality tore open. A glowing crack spread across space, twisting and pulsing. A wormhole, wide and unstable. "What's it doing?" Corbin whispered. Arya's voice trembled. "It's opening a gate," Hayes frowned. "To where?" She looked at him. "I don't think it's to somewhere, sir. I think it's from somewhere." The crew watched in horror as the wormhole expanded, swallowing pieces of debris and light. The alien remains were being pulled toward it, like offerings to something on the other side. "Can we close it?" Hayes asked. "Negative," Arya said. "It's beyond anything we've seen. The energy level is rising fast." "Then we back off." Full reverse. "Get us out of here now!" engines roared. The Vigilant began to move, pulling away from the glowing vortex. But even as they retreated, a deep vibration passed through the ship, like a heartbeat echoing through the hull. "What was that?" Corbin shouted. "Unknown. The distortion field is affecting everything. Gravity, time, even sensors." Outside, flashes of light appeared around the wormhole, silhouettes of enormous shapes moving within the glow. Hayes narrowed his eyes. "Are those ships?" "No," Arya whispered. "They're too big." "Too alive." Then a massive explosion ripped through the left side of the wormhole. One of the alien wrecks was pulled in, and something on the other side answered. A wave of light spread outward. The stars flickered. Every screen on the Vigilant filled with static. Then through the noise a voice, not through comms, not through sound, but directly inside their minds. "We remember your kind. You are not ready." The voice was deep, ancient, and filled with power. Everyone on the bridge froze. Hayes gritted his teeth. "Who are you?" "The first." The voice faded, leaving behind only static and silence. The wormhole pulsed once more, then began to shrink. But before it vanished, something emerged. A small object glowing like molten stone drifted out and stopped near the Vigilant. Arya whispered, "It's coming toward us." The object floated silently until it touched the Vigilant's hull. Then it melted into the metal, disappearing completely. "Captain," Corbin yelled. "It's inside the ship!" Every alarm on the bridge went off. Warning lights flashed red. Hayes shouted, "Containment shields! Lock it down!" But before they could react, the systems went dead. Lights flickered, then returned, dim, cold, unfamiliar. On the main screen, new symbols appeared, the same glowing veins they had seen on the alien ships. Corbin whispered, "That's rewriting our systems." Hayes stepped forward, his voice low but steady. "Not if we stop it first." He pulled a lever on the console, the emergency purge system, meant to wipe the entire ship's memory. "Captain, if you do that," Arya began. "I know," he said. "But I'm not letting this thing take control." He slammed the lever down. The ship shuddered violently. Sparks flew. The bridge went dark. For a moment there was only silence. Then the lights returned, and dim but human again. The alien symbols were gone. Arya exhaled shakily. "You did it." Hayes looked out the window at the fading wormhole. "No," he said quietly. "I just delayed it." The stars flickered again, as if something massive was still moving behind them. Humanity had won the battle, but something ancient had heard them. And now it was coming. Space was quiet again. But it was not the peaceful kind of quiet. It was the silence before a storm. The Vigilant drifted near the remains of the wormhole. Faint waves of energy still rippled through the void like echoes of a heartbeat. Captain Nathan Hayes stood alone on the dark bridge. Every screen showed static. Every system was still rebooting after the purge. His reflection stared back at him in the cracked glass. Tired eyes, heavy breath, and a question that no human could answer. What had they awakened? "Power levels are stable again," Arya Chen said from her console. "Life support is holding, but our long-range comms are fried. We can't reach command." "Any movement from the large structure?" Hayes asked. "None," she replied. "It's just floating there." Hayes frowned. "Nothing that big, just floats." Corbin, working at the engineering station, added quietly, "Sir, whatever that thing was, and it spoke to us. It said we weren't ready. Maybe that was a warning." Hayes turned toward him. "Or maybe it was a threat." Before anyone could reply, the ship trembled. A low vibration ran through the hull. Deep, slow, like a pulse. Arya checked her readings. "Gravitational wave. Source unknown. It's coming from the structure." Outside, the darkness began to glow. The massive shape they had been watching slowly changed. Its surface shifted, folding in on itself like layers of armor opening. "It's moving," Corbin whispered. The bridge lights flickered again. Alarm screamed. "Distance," Hayes demanded. 500,000 kilometers and closing fast, Arya said. "It's pulling itself with gravity fields." The crew watched as the monstrous shape came closer. It wasn't a ship anymore. It wasn't metal. It was alive. As it turned, faint light spread across its surface, glowing veins of gold and red, running like rivers through a planet-sized body. It had no clear front or back, no eyes, no mouth, only an endless surface that shimmered and shifted like liquid metal. "Scan it," Hayes said. "I'm trying, sir, but—" Arya hesitated. "It's blocking every wavelength. Our sensors can't understand what it's made of. It's not matter as we know it." Then, without warning, every light in the ship went white. A voice filled the air, not through speakers but inside their minds. "You have opened the gate. You are children playing with the dark." Arya gasped and covered her ears, though the voice wasn't sound. Corbin shouted, "It's inside the ship's comm circuits." Hayes stood firm. "Identify yourself," he shouted. "Who are you?" "We are the first memory. We were here before stars learned to burn." The crew went still, Arya whispered. "It's ancient. You woke us when you called to the edge. Those who came before you, they ran." The image on the screen shifted, showing a vision of the alien fleet they had fought. But in this vision, those same ships were not attacking. They were fleeing. Running from something. They feared what follows us. They feared the echo. "The echo?" Hayes asked. "What is that?" The voice grew colder. The sound of all things ending. The bridge began to shake violently. Outside, the massive creature stretched, its glowing veins brightening. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the voice stopped. The crew tried to recover. "Captain," Arya said quickly, "something's happening near its core. Massive power buildup. It's opening another wormhole." "On screen," Hayes ordered. The view shifted to show the creature's center, a bright point of light forming within its body. The space around it twisted and cracked. Corbin whispered, "It's not just a wormhole. It's feeding on the energy around it." Indeed, the stars nearby were dimming, their light bending and disappearing into the growing sphere of fire. "Move us away," Hayes shouted. Thrusters roared, but the ship barely moved. The gravity pull was too strong. "Engines at max," Arya cried. "Won't matter if that thing finishes whatever it's doing," Corbin yelled. "We'll be ripped apart." Then, through the roaring static and chaos, a faint transmission broke through, coming from somewhere deep in the alien wrecks nearby. "Human ship, you fight it too. We were not your enemy." Arya's eyes widened. "It's coming from one of the alien survivors." "Patch it through," Hayes ordered. A distorted, almost mechanical voice filled the bridge. "The first memory consumes. We ran to warn you." "We failed." Hayes leaned forward. "How do we stop it?" "You cannot, but you can slow it." Before they could ask how, the signal vanished, swallowed by a flash of light. The creature's center exploded in brightness. A storm of energy tore across space. "Brace for impact," Hayes shouted. The Vigilant spun as the wave hit, systems failing, hull screaming. The wormhole expanded again, swallowing wreckage, light, and sound. Through the chaos, Hayes saw the stars flicker out one by one. "They weren't attacking us," he whispered. "They were running from this." The ship rolled uncontrollably. Sparks filled the bridge. "Captain, if it pulls us in," Arya began but couldn't finish. "I know," he said, gripping the controls. "Hold on." Outside, the creature spread its vast form, stretching across the stars, absorbing the remains of both fleets. Its veins glowed brighter, feeding the wormhole like blood through arteries. Then Munit spoke one last time. "You are not ready. The first is awake, and then—" Silence. The wormhole collapsed, leaving only the faint glow of dying stars. The Vigilant floated among the wreckage, damaged, broken, but alive. Arya looked at Hayes. "What now, Captain?" He stared at the dark sky, voice calm but heavy. "We tell Earth what we saw," she frowned. "You think they'll believe us?" Hayes gave a small, tired smile. "They will when it arrives." The camera of the ship's drone feed flickered, showing distant movement far beyond the stars. Not one. Not two, but many. Humanity thought the nightmare was one creature. They were wrong again. The stars were dying. What had once been a bright corner of human space was now a graveyard, filled with drifting ships, broken satellites, and the cold remains of war. The Vigilant floated in the middle of it all, half broken but still alive. Captain Nathan Hayes sat on the dark bridge, his hands resting on the controls. Every surface around him was scorched. Every sound was soft, the hum of damaged engines and the faint whisper of life support trying to keep up. They had survived the impossible. But the cost was beyond counting. Lieutenant Arya Chen broke the silence. "Captain, long-range scanners are back online. I'm getting movement." Hayes didn't move. "Alien survivors?" She shook her head. "No, sir. It's coming from the far edge of the system. Hundreds of objects. Maybe thousands." Corbin looked up from engineering. "More of those things?" Arya stared at her screen, her face pale. "No, smaller, faster. They look like ships." Hayes turned to face her. "Human?" "Yes," she said. "Reinforcements from Earth. They finally arrived." For a moment the bridge filled with a quiet kind of relief. Hayes stood and looked out at the distant glow of engines cutting across the dark. "Tell them to stay back. The area isn't safe." Arya nodded and opened a channel, but before she could speak, a voice came through, calm and clear. "This is Admiral Trent of the Earth Defense Armada. We received your signal. Stand by for assistance." Hayes sighed in relief. Finally. But then Arya's console flickered. The signal broke. Static filled the bridge. "Captain, something's jamming us," she shouted. Outside the window, the stars began to shimmer, like reflections in water. Corbin looked out in horror. "Not again!" The space between the Vigilant and the incoming human fleet started to ripple. Waves of dark light spread outward, bending everything, twisting it, and then it came. A shape emerged from the void, larger than any ship, larger than any world. It wasn't the same creature as before, but it looked like its twin, alive, glowing, endless. And behind it came others, dozens, maybe hundreds. Each one carried the same glowing veins, the same pulse that beat like a heart echoing through the stars. Arya whispered, "They weren't lying." The first wasn't alone. Hayes stared in silence. His mind was calm now, not afraid, not angry. Just focused. He tapped the console. "How many nukes do we have left?" Corbin hesitated. "2, maybe 3 if I can arm the damaged ones manually." "Do it," Hayes said. "We'll use every piece of tech we have." "Captain," Arya said softly, "you can't fight that." "No one can." Hayes looked at her. "We don't need to win. We just need to make them remember us." Minutes passed as the crew worked. Outside, the sky grew brighter, not from stars, but from the endless glow of the approaching creatures. The Vigilant's engines screamed as Corbin rerouted power. Arya sent a coded message toward Earth, a warning, a story, a cry for the future. When she finished, she turned to Hayes. "Transmission sent. Even if we don't make it, someone will hear." Hayes gave her a small nod. "That's all that matters." The ship trembled as a shockwave passed by. One of the creatures had opened its core, tearing space apart. "Captain," Corbin said, sweat running down his face. "Charges ready, but the manual triggers outside the ship. Someone's got to arm it by hand." Hayes looked at him for a moment. Then he smiled, the kind of smile that comes before the end of a story. "I'll do it." "Sir." "That's an order," Hayes said gently. He took his helmet, sealed it, and stepped into the airlock. Through the window, Arya watched him, one small human walking into an ocean of gods. Outside, space was silent. The Vigilant looked tiny against the glowing monsters filling the sky. Hayes moved slowly along the hull, his boots magnetized to the surface. In his hand was the small, cracked detonator, a human weapon, old and simple, against something ancient and infinite. He reached the charge and knelt. His voice came through the comms, steady and calm. "Arya," he said, "when this is done, get the ship as far away as you can." "Captain." "You won't make it back," she said softly. Hayes looked up at the endless sky. "Doesn't matter. Someone has to light the match." He pressed the first switch. The device hummed, a growing sound, deep and angry. He thought about Earth, about sunlight, oceans, laughter, noise, all the small things humans take for granted. And he smiled again. "This is for us," he whispered. "For humanity." Then he pressed the final trigger. The vigilance sensors went white. A blinding light filled the dark, brighter than anything ever made by human hands. For a moment the creatures paused, as if confused. Then the explosion hit them, tearing across space like a storm of fire. Shockwaves ripped through the void. The first creature screamed, not in sound but in gravity and light, and began to collapse inward, dragging others with it. The wormholes they had opened twisted and folded. Space itself seemed to shatter, and then silence. The light faded. The creatures were gone. Only the vigilant remained, drifting among dust and fire. Inside, Arya sat quietly at her console. The screens were cracked, systems failing, but her message had gone through. Earth would know. She looked out at the stars, her voice trembling. "Goodbye, Captain." In the distance, the explosion still glowed faintly. A new light among dead stars. A human light. Weeks later, that light reached Earth. Astronomers called it Hayes's star. They said it was beautiful. No one on Earth knew the full story. Not yet. But in the deep silence of space, where stars had died and legends were born, a faint signal began to pulse again. Soft, rhythmic, steady, 4 beats, pause, 4 more. The same pattern that started it all. Humanity thought it was just one ship. They were wrong. The end.